Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cash Flow Conversations. Today we have a special guest, Stephen White out of Denver, Colorado, a financial advisor with almost 2 decades of experience, specializes in the civil construction market, helping entrepreneurs and business owners uh, pay less tax in retirement and have more cash flow in retirement years. So stoked to have Stephen here talking about different retirement strategies and things that he sees in the market. But before we dive in, Steve-O, it's good to have you here, man.
Hey, great to be here with you, Matt. Thank you. This is awesome.
Yeah. So we had gosh, we've known each other for 6, 7 years now. And I didn't know your background to begin with. So I kind of want to start there. You know, when we talk to these entrepreneurs, very seldom does someone get out of high school and say, I want to go be an entrepreneur. Usually, maybe more so now with the economy and like access to technology, there's so much transparency. But when you started, you started as a W-2 back in the day, worked for a big Fortune 500 company. What was that like?
It was fun. It was a good place to get your legs underneath you. It was very, very inspirational as far as me and my career. But it's the corporate world. Nothing against the corporate world, but living in a cube is it's not exactly fun. And I'm pretty much entrepreneurial spirited. I don't mind being asked to do things, but the corporate world was just didn't have a good vibe. Did not have a good vibe. I was very successful. I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and earning six figures, and it was fun for a time, and then it became not fun.
Yeah. When you talk, make sure you talk loud too so we can hear you.
Gotcha. You betcha.
Um, yeah, it kind of gets, there's only so much a good salary will pay for. The lifestyle kind of, there's a rate of return of happiness, what I always say.
Absolutely, and control.
And
If you think
control.
about it, I was happy, everything was great, but you really don't have any control. You had boundaries put around you. You had lofty goals instilled upon you that seemed to change every year. It was a great opportunity. I learned a lot. I had a great mentor, my manager. I still, 30 years later, I still talk to him from time to time. And yeah, a lot of good things came out of that, but even better things came after that.
Nice. And so after that, you decided, well, they went through a couple changes and restructured. So you were looking for a new gig. And from there, where did you go?
Actually, it's funny you asked that. I took on an opportunity here in town that was actually introduced to me by a friend of mine that I ran into at the post office mailing out resumes. And I know I'm dating myself there, but yeah,
Mailing
there
resumes?
was a time in the world where you mailed resumes.
That sounds exhausting.
I know it was. It was horrible. Um, but I was, sitting on a war chest. I had some time. I wasn't really strapped for resources to pay bills and live. But he suggested it together with him and his business partner. They were in the loan origination business. He had his own business. It wasn't a bank or a financial institution. I didn't have to travel anymore. And the income opportunity was really good. It was as good, if not better, than what I had in the corporate world. And I was working for myself, which was kind of scary at the time, but I've always had the entrepreneurial bug in me. I've done pretty well at just about everything I've done, whether by force or by choice. Um, so I went there and talked to those guys and started a loan origination career as a 1099 independent contractor. And I stayed in that business for 12 years. I did really well. I had a blast. I just got bored with it in the end. It was.
So really quick though, so from that big corporate job, you
Mhm.
went to this new gig as a 1099, and so they didn't give you a salary?
No, I had no salary, no benefits.
Were you married at the time?
I was married at the time.
Was she
My
on
wife,
board?
she was on board. She had some concerns, obviously, but we had enough money to get me. I probably had 7, 8 months worth of expenses plus. And she said, "Hey, you haven't really failed. You haven't failed at anything you've done. So why not? You're going to increase your quality of life. You don't have to go on a plane and be away. for 2, 3 weeks out of the month. And why not? If you like these guys, give it a shot.
Make sure you talk obnoxiously loud because I don't want to get done with this and have the recording suck.
Okay. I'll get better at that.
Yeah, it's all right. I don't mind seeing the camera. Um, so that was it. That was the leap of faith. But so at least you had your wife on board. You had some reserves saved up, and you said, "I'm going to go invest in myself." How long was it before you started getting paid or making sales?
5 months, almost 6. Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight, does it?
It doesn't happen overnight. Oh my gosh, the learning curve was tremendous. I had been working with business owners my entire career prior to that, and now I'm dealing with mostly non-business owners. So, you had to, those conversations are a little different. And, but, I had the sales skills, I had the relationship skills, excuse me, but it does take a while. It just doesn't happen overnight.
And so in that 5th month, when you got your first, sale, were you right back to normal income, or was it still climbing out of that hole?
It was actually, that paycheck was actually more than a monthly paycheck when I was in the corporate world.
That's
It
dope.
was 3 transactions that I think totaled close to 12 grand, 15 grand, something like that.
Wow.
And as in matter of fact, one of my vendors said, "Steven, you're going to Disneyland." Yeah.
I love it. I remember my first 1099 commission sale back in early 2010s. I looked at the check and I was like, "You got to be kidding, man."
Yeah.
It would have taken me 3 months as a W-2 to make this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was huge.
And you might go a few months without making any sales.
What's that?
And you might go a little while without making any sales, but you see the potential.
It is, and as an entrepreneur, someone being self-employed, you got to get used to that, right? You got to understand going into it that yeah, you're not having a regular paycheck, so you become even better at managing your finances.
Yeah.
You create that savings account where all the money goes into that you flow into your checking account. Of course, back then it all went into a checking account because we didn't have any online banking back then. So in our minds, we had to partition that money, but we knew exactly how much money we needed every month to pay the bills, and that's all that we used.
And so you were in the mortgage business, and the mortgage business took a little bit of a hiccup in late 2008, 2009. What was that like?
I was out of it by then.
Oh, were you? Good for you. When did you get
Yeah, I
out?
was out of it. I was totally out of it. I was actually into my, I think, 3rd or 4th year of this business, because when I got out of the mortgage business and into this business, it was like a 4-month, 5-month transition, letting go of and finishing up some transactions and getting started new. And I think it was about 3 months, I said, I can't do both anymore. So my wife took over my mortgage practice, and I jumped in, blinders on.
Wow.
It's very difficult to be in 2 different mindsets in the same day. It's so brutal.
Yeah. I can
You just got
testify
to,
to that.
it's the old saying, you can't steal second with your foot on first,
Mm-hmm.
You just got to go.
So you had some confidence in the 1099 world. You had confidence in your ability, and then why? So then you got into the financial advising world. How did you get to that? Did you just like the idea of helping clients more, or what was it about?
Yeah, that's one of them. I was towards the end of my mortgage world, my loan origination phase, and I came to the realization that, this is really boring. There's no longer a challenge. I'm kind of like an order taker, and it really didn't resonate with my soul at the time. I felt I could be doing something better. I saw a lot of people with true good old American financial issues being in the business. And I saw people that didn't have any issues. And I recognized that's 2 different mindsets. And what was interesting is the people that had less financial problems, they were business owners, they were self-employed. They just had a different attitude and a different take. And matter of fact, I was sharing my discontent with a friend of mine. He said, "You need to go talk to so-and-so over here at XYZ company, and he's my advisor. Why don't you go talk to him?" Number one, he can get your financial house in order, and who knows, maybe there's some opportunity there. So I did that, and I became a client of his. And then about 4 or 5 months later, 6 months later, was when I totally got out of the mortgage business. Was when I transitioned out and into the financial services industry, recruited by my own personal advisor.
Love it, man. Congrats. And so that was 18 years ago.
Yeah, just about. Absolutely. Yep.
And so now, 18 years later, you've seen some ups and downs in the market. Gosh, I can't imagine getting started and then going through 2008 on your second or third year in.
Yeah, it was devastating. It's like, oh my God, what are we going to do now? It did create some opportunity once the dust settled, but right about when my financial planning business was starting to get some legs on it, yeah, '08 and '09 happened.
Yeah, that's the year that I got a master's degree in architecture. The housing market was saturated, banks were leveraged, people were leveraged. A horrible time to get a degree. So you said that you learned a few things and you found opportunity in that. I think that's beautiful. And entrepreneurs have that gift of, all right, this is kind of crappy what we're going through, but what's there to learn from this? What's the opportunity in that? So what did you see as an opportunity when you went through all that?
Well, when you enter this industry, you typically enter with a firm that they bring their new advisors in and they get them insurance licensed. They want to see if they're going to adapt and be productive. So I did that. And a year later, I started getting my securities licensing. And then 2 years later, I opened the window to get my fiduciary license. And the reason why it was 3 years later is because at that time there was a requirement that you had to have 3 years of productive results in the industry to even apply to get a fiduciary registration. And they want to make sure that you're going to be around too. Because, if you look at our industry, it's a 90% washout rate.
Yeah.
I
heard 92.
What's that?
I heard 92 to be exact.
Yeah. It's horrible. So I get that. But the opportunity '08 and '09 presented was, okay, chips are down, people are shell shocked. And what was really interesting, our life insurance and disability insurance production increased. I'm not sure why, but it did. And then probably 8 months after that, the market started settling down. People were going, okay, we're toast or here, or we lost value here. But what was interesting is the industry started coming out with products and services to help investors, protect from the downside, the downside of the market drawdowns. And that created an opportunity for us to work with clients that were like, okay, I'm done. I just got smashed. I don't want to have to do this again. I don't want to go through this. I don't want to lose 30, 40, 50% of my portfolio overnight. Can I put some over here and help protect that downside? And that created a pretty good opportunity for us. And then obviously, if you remember, things did settle down. It took 2, 3, 4 years, but it also made us work harder. It gave us the opportunity to, we got to be different. We got to be very different. We can't just be that vanilla advisor out there being perceived as someone that just wants to sell a pig in a poke to somebody for a commission.
And so everyone listening knows I'm a huge fan of life insurance as an entrepreneur's asset. And if you were working with business owners, so like in 2008 and 9, life insurance contracts didn't go down. So is that what you're saying when you were helping the clients who saw 30, 40% reduction in account sizes, where they were going, all right, I don't want to go through that again. And then the opportunity of that different product showed itself?
It did. I actually came into this business as a client that, at the time I was making a lot of good money. I was doing well, I was successful, and I didn't have a money problem. I had a tax problem. And I had all these people knocking on my door, hey man, you got to start a 401k, or hey, you got to start an IRA, or whatever the case may be. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't. I said, and I asked these people, I said, do you know what the tax rates are going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? And they look at me and go, no. Okay, so why would I want to defer my money now and save what, 2, 3 grand? And then down the road, I take that money out.
And hopefully it grew. So hopefully you're taking out more.
Yeah, I'm going to be taking out more. Yeah, okay, take my $22,000 deferral into my IRA and grow it over 15 years. That could be easily 50, 60 grand. Well, what's 25% tax on 50, 60 grand? It's a hell of a lot more than 3,200.
Yeah.
And plus, I'm paying fees on the money that I'm using to pay my taxes. I said to myself, how can that be a good deal? I have no control. I'm paying fees on all the money, including the money I got to send to the IRS in the state of Colorado. I don't have any control over or in my 401k. You know, it's ERISA. You got very few choices. I'm responsible for the allocation. I'm no expert. So
Yeah.
anyway, I don't mean to ramble, but I came into this business as a huge advocate for using permanent life insurance as a supplement or your entire retirement. I saw
Because of those unknowns with the traditional method.
absolutely, absolutely. I could sleep at night. I knew that my account was going to have a guaranteed growth or the dividend, whichever's the higher.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all tax exempt. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
what the tax rates are when I retire. I don't have to pay them.
Yeah, man.
I'm
If
not,
you're in a
the Internal
0%,
Revenue Code says, no, we do not require you to pay taxes on cash flow. I'm okay. I'm in.
if you're in a 0%, let's go ahead.
It's the biggest no-brainer on the planet if you think about it.
Yeah, if you're in a 0% tax bracket and tax rates double, I'm still in a 0% tax bracket.
I'm still in the 0% tax bracket,
And
right?
for all the naysayers, you paid your fair share because you paid your tax on the way in, and you
Yeah.
just took advantage of the tax code like the wealthy people do
Yep. I don't
to
have a
avoid
problem
future
paying
tax.
taxes once on my money as I earn it, but the decisions that I make with my after-tax dollars will determine how many more checks I have to write to the government. And I'd rather write none. I mean, they got enough out of me, for God's sakes. I was in the highest tax bracket for so many years. It's like, come on, guys, give me a break.
Yeah, yeah. You get any consoling from the IRS on that? And probably not. At least they're spending it well.
Unless they're spending it well.
At least the IRS is spending our tax dollars well.
What are you smoking?
So, a big fan of permanent life insurance, and you use it to help business owners kind of exit their business or create long-term cash flow and avoid that future income tax.
Oh, all of the above. One of the things that I learned as a person who owned permanent life insurance, I could get access to the value anytime I wanted or needed to. I didn't have to wait till age 59 and a half. Once that dividend was credited to my contract, my balance never receded. My money continued to compound and grow and grow and grow. So for
Yeah,
business
that's
owners, what I found out is there are business owners that believe in the same things that I believe in. And they're asking me, Stephen, what is there anything that I'm not doing that I should? I said, I don't know. Let's have a conversation about that. You know, and I'd ask them, a handful of questions to determine what their values were and their beliefs towards taxation, liquidity, use, and control of their money after tax. And those that matched up really well with my beliefs, I said, the next thing we need to do is schedule some time for me to share and reveal a strategy that a lot of my clients are using for themselves to address those issues that you just shared with me. And it's been going on for decades. It's just not in the playbook that's on the street. The playbook that's on the street speaks, in my opinion, to the W-2 mindset.
yeah.
It
Well,
doesn't
most
speak.
Americans are not making six figures a year. They're not making 100 grand. Most Americans are making 50, 60, 70,000, and they get a match at work, and the 401k is a good option for them.
Yeah, yeah, I'll agree with that. But I outgrew that a long time ago, as so did my clients.
Yeah.
They're in the six figures. They're in the top 5, top 10% of the income earners on the planet.
Yeah. Which is everybody listening to be in the top 10%. All you have to do is make around 120, 130 grand a year, married, filing jointly, and you're in the top 10% of income earners. That's
Yeah,
an uncommon income, and we should not be making common financial decisions with an uncommon income. And
I
so
agree
that's where you
100%.
came in, all about
100%.
control. So talk about the business owners. Why life insurance is such a Swiss Army knife of a product that you could use. So how does a business owner what attracts the business owner to that as far as like an exit strategy or even like while they're still working?
Oh, sure. I think what attracts, or at least what has attracted my clients, and a lot of my clients are in the civil construction industry. You know, they're grading out dirt, they're pouring cement, they're building stuff, they're developing land for a variety of uses. For them, it's all about their beliefs. My questionnaire when I meet with prospective clients for the first time, you ask all the financial questions, what they've accumulated up to that point, what kind of accounts they have, where's their money, where are their assets sitting? A lot of it's in their business. But I also ask them the belief questions. I ask them, well, how do you feel about Wall Street? How do you feel about government taxation? How do you feel about taxation in general? Do you feel you're paying your fair share, or are you getting sick and tired of writing six-figure checks every quarter on your investments? And I get a lot of yeses, and I get a lot of aligning, their responses are aligning with my beliefs. And they already know what they want. They just don't know about it.
They don't know the solution.
They don't know what the solution is.
And let me just make a little caveat here, because I think this is an important distinction. If we understand that most Americans don't have these issues that we're talking about, we understand that the solution that most Americans have is not the same solution that a high income earner would actually enjoy. And so it's not that one is better than the other, just they're completely different.
Yes.
And if you look at how the advisors get paid very well on managing qualified money, or like IRAs and 401s, and because it's all pre-tax, like you mentioned. So there's a lot, you can Google that. Tony Robbins talks about the average fees inside of 401ks is like 2% when you add it all together. And there's not a consumer out there that would know that and continue to do what they're doing, because they'll get that 2% even if the market goes down. So not only is there no exit strategy, the government controls how much they're going to charge you in the end. These people are paying 2% on account values that go up and down and don't even use their money. So you talk to a 50-year-old business owner, they don't want to give their control up to Wall Street and watch it. Like, I joke that a retirement account really is an advisor's retirement account, because they're the one getting cash flow off of that thing. And then the client's waiting to turn age 60, maybe retire. And then even then, the CPA says, don't take out too much because you're going to be in a higher tax bracket.
Which is totally contradictory to my mindset of advising. I mean, what's a CPA doing advising in my space anyway without my credentials?
Well, let's be honest. Most CPAs are historians. They look backwards and try and find deductions or deferrals, mostly deferrals. That's why they always say, put money in an IRA. I'll reduce your tax bill. Not a tax reduction. It's a temporary tax reduction.
Yeah.
Either you, your spouse, or your kids will pay the tax on all of it.
Exactly. You're just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah. So great. So life insurance, you mentioned supplement retirement cash flow, no taxes due. How is there no taxes due? So it's kind of like a Roth IRA.
Well, it's before I go there, when and I'm going to answer that question. But what was really interesting is with my clients is when I show them the three different ways that we basically can accumulate and distribute wealth, the light bulb goes on really fast. Sometimes it goes on the light bulb goes on in the middle of the conversation. It's like, I want that.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I've been looking for. They see the flexibility, they see the liquidity. And maybe here in this conversation, I can give you a couple examples of that. I'm sorry, Matt, what was the question before I started?
That's okay. So I was talking about cash flow and retirement. You said supplemental cash flow or income for retirement years.
Yes. When I have these really in-depth conversations with my clients about using, limited pay whole life contract in the like you would say, the Swiss Army knife of the financial world, when they see the power of never losing their money, they see the power of no taxation, they see the no power of market declines, fees dragging down their balance, knowing that they can access it before they turn age 59 and a half. And some of them even say, hey, can I put the proceeds of the sale of my business inside one of these contracts? I said, yeah, absolutely. You can't do it all at once, but can you think of a better place to put it? And every one of them have said, no, I can't think of any better place to put it. I might want to buy a second home on the lake, but heck no, I'd rather put it all in one of these contracts knowing that I have access to it. I'm not paying any fees. I'm not paying any taxes. It's a beautiful thing. And when they see the comparison of the annual cash flow coming off of one of these contracts equivalent to an investment account, and they see that there's a 60 to an 80% difference in the size of their paycheck, and there's a lot of reasons because of that, but they're like, crap, I can retire with half the money I thought I needed. I said, yeah, you can. Absolutely. And that takes a lot of pressure off a lot of folks because they think they got to have this huge bucket of money to kick out 100, 200 grand a year in retirement income. They don't. It's about half.
Well, they follow the traditional. If they followed the traditional method, they sure would need a bunch of money. And that's what the industry loves because they get paid off that big chunk of money.
But these clients aren't traditional minded. These it's a different playbook. And I have this conversation with clients. There's two playbooks on the street. The one you know about, it's targeted for lower income W-2 employee folks. We got to have those folks. And then there's the other playbook that the banks, the financial institutions, the entrepreneurs, the successful business owners use. And you don't hear about that playbook very often at all, but it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the reasons I think that it's not very popular is because there's more people as the W-2. So the financial advisor, I use that term loosely, managing those accounts, they make quite a bit of money. And I think one of the things I give kudos to these business owners for is, the biggest pushback you get with life insurance is, oh, it's just an insurance agent who wants a commission. Well, do the math on charging a fee on money for decades that the client will never spend because a portion of it has to go to taxation.
Yep.
And then through the inheritance of the spouse, and then to the kids, that advisor makes massive income off of that, off of managing or gambling with that money in the market, and then compare that to what a commission would be on a life insurance contract. By the way, with what you mentioned, limited pay whole life, the commission is fixed. It's not ongoing. There's no ongoing fees that the advisor makes after 10 years. Like the advisor gets nothing. And then at death, rather than passing on taxable asset to a spouse or children, massive tax-free benefits go to the heirs, and they get to choose what to do with it. There's no fees. There's no transaction fees there. So someone who has a very good long view of the playing field, they look at the comparison and they're like, okay, now I understand this. And it's just not mainstream.
It's not. And many times, I don't even have to go that deep with my clients because very few of my clients have the majority of their assets in the market. Their businesses, their money is sitting in cash. Their money is sitting in their business checking account because they don't know what to do with it. They don't want to put it in the market. Where can I put this money? And they're using it to either reinvest back in their business or buy other income producing assets. Right?
Could you help that client? So let's say you met someone off the street with $500,000 in the bank because they don't want to give it up to Wall Street. And they're making a couple $100,000 a year, great cash flow, big deductions. Is that the type of person that you're going to help?
Oh, absolutely. If they share the same beliefs that I believe in and they share those values, don't trust the government, don't trust Wall Street, trying to figure out what's the best use of my money. And I get that question a lot. It's prospective clients going, Stephen, how do I get the best use of my money? But that's exactly a perfect opportunity for us to have a conversation and go deep into this strategy. Absolutely.
I love it, man. Well, I appreciate you being here talking about a subject that I think a lot of people don't understand. But once they understand it, it's the type of people that you and I would like to go get a beer with, the people that take risk in themselves.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you got to remember too, Matt, the advisors that are still on that traditional playing field, that is completely opposite of what I do. And I still play on that field too. I still have clients that either can't use the strategy or they're not aligned with the values and the beliefs of the use of the strategy, but you still got to help them. They're still asking for your help. But you have to understand that the advisor and the public, they're being educated the same way, Matt. They're being educated the same way. They all grew up with buy term, invest the difference.
Yeah, your age group did that. The boomer generation,
Yeah,
they look
absolutely.
at buy term, invest the difference because the market will do so great until it doesn't.
Until it doesn't. And I'm finding more and more people my same age and even a little bit younger that are ditching They're ditching traditional. They're begging for what can I be doing different?
Love it,
And
man.
pretty much most of my clients are, they're in their early mid 40s to mid 50s anymore. And
All
I
right.
see the tide turning. I see the people are beginning, not all people, but a few people, and they're usually entrepreneurs and business owners. They're figuring out that traditional planning is obsolete, and it's obsolete to them.
Yeah.
What are people who are, Stephen, what are people like me doing with their money? And I know it's not cramming it into a 401k or a profit sharing plan.
Yeah.
I'm
I
sorry,
love
I'm
it, man.
starting around. I'm pretty passionate about what I do. I could talk about this for hours.
I love it. So if somebody wanted to learn more, we'll make sure to include a link below in the description so they can get a hold of you and watch more of your stuff. Because you have a couple of videos you've been working on, right?
I do.
Yeah. So we'll make sure that people can get access to that. And if they have any questions, feel free to reach out either through the description below, the links below, or just get in touch with the show, Cashflow Conversations, and we'll make sure you get a chance to talk with Stephen. Stephen, any last thoughts for these business owners that haven't seen the light yet or don't know the options? Any last thoughts that you want to leave some people with? Any hope?
For the ones that haven't seen the light yet, I'm not sure that that person can be helped, right? Because a lot of us are ingrained in our beliefs and our values. But if there's any doubt if you are that person, if there's any doubt in your minds about what you're doing, you need to listen to that voice. You really need to listen to that voice because that voice is there for a reason. And you can't, for you to ignore it, I think you're not acting in your own best interest, right? Just be open. And for those that are looking for different options, my encouragement to them is seek out that help. If you got to interview 3 or 4 different people in my space, interview 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
Ask them what they believe in.
Yeah.
Ask them what their core values are. Ask them if they think taxes are going to increase, decrease, or stay the same. Ask them if they really trust Wall Street, right? Ask them the questions that an advisor would ask you. But stay the course, stay disciplined. But you got to listen to that voice. You have to, because there will be a time where it'll be too late, and there's no way to go back in time.
Yeah.
Unless you're Michael J. Fox, but.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate all the wisdom.
Yes, sir. You got it, brother. Appreciate your time as well. You guys have an awesome weekend.
All right, man. You too.
Take care.